Badass of the Week is produced by High Five Content and 7 Bucks Productions.
Mei Lin, Vietnam, 40 AD. The air on the battlements of Mei Lin is dead still, heavy with the scent of damp earth and dread. Han Captain Jing Shi squints into the impenetrable darkness beyond the torchlight. He can hear something, a low, visceral thumping that isn't a drum but feels like one. A rhythmic shudder that vibrates up through the stone parapet and into his teeth. Then comes the sound of rending wood, a massive, tearing sound, and a section of ancient jungle simply falls flat, revealing a new, terrifying silhouette against the pre-dawn glow. They look like mountains wrapped in leather and bronze, but they move with the speed of charging cavalry. War elephants, 2 of them, leading a tidal wave of local fighters and trampling the outer defenses, their massive tusks wrapped in iron. Jing Shi finally finds his voice to scream the general alarm, but the sound is swallowed by the first terrible, echoing trumpet of the beasts. He spins around to rally his company, eyes wide with panic, only to find the watchtower deserted. His men, the brave and disciplined soldiers of the Han Dynasty, have already recognized the sight of the sisters' war beasts and are halfway down the ladder, scrambling for their lives. Jing Shi is left alone, watching his end come thundering from the trees, led by 2 sisters who want their country back and want his head for what his governor has done. Hello, and welcome back to Badass of the Week, the show where we tell the badass history of badasses. My name is Ben Thompson, and I am joined today by my co-host, Dr. Pat Larish. Pat, I feel like it's been a while since we've recorded one together.
It has been a while. It's so good to be back.
Yes. You're starting the new school year. I guess it's not even a new school year anymore, huh?
Well, it's not. Okay, in some ways it feels like, oh my goodness, we've just started. And in some ways it's also, oh my goodness, we only have so many weeks until the winter break. So yes. And I assure you, my 9th graders feel the same way.
Excellent. Yes, I understand that. But we are telling No. It seems like a recurring theme for episodes where we talk about I don't know. I feel like when you come on, there's sometimes war elephants involved.
I'm not complaining.
No, I think this is not going to be our first episode where we discuss war elephants. And I don't think it will be
No, it certainly isn't. No.
It might not be like our third or fourth episode together when we're talking about this.
So we had Queen Amanarenas.
Oh, that's right. We had the elephant duel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, we've had a lot of combat on elephant back.
Yeah, and okay, I just want to say on behalf of elephants, elephants can also be peace elephants.
Sure.
And awkwardly tense, yet somehow maintaining non-combat elephants.
Yes, we did Hannibal. Hannibal's another war elephant guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. Yeah.
We we're not condoning violence by or against elephants, but
oh my goodness, no. Elephants are awesome.
They are awesome, and they're very smart. And
yes.
And I think we talked about Teddy Roosevelt in the Teddy Roosevelt episode. He mentioned that elephants were the scariest thing that he ever encountered in the wild. He said they were much scarier than rhinos and hippos and things like that. Like an angry elephant. I did an episode on Carl Akeley, and Carl Akeley gets mauled by an elephant and breaks every bone in his body or something. And so dangerous stuff, but also very, very peaceful animals.
Yeah. So elephants can be dangerous, and they're also, total individuals in their own right. Mm-hmm. And also, if you happen to work out an arrangement with some elephants where you're like, we need to attack some people, and if the elephants are okay with that, they're like, yeah, we're on board with that.
Yeah, we need to overthrow the oppressive dictatorship. We need to fight the power.
Yeah.
Elephants love fighting the power.
Fight the power, yes. Fight the man, yes. Whoa.
I saw Dumbo. Okay, so we are talking war elephants today. We are talking Vietnamese history in the 1st century AD. So we are going to talk about not just any war elephants. We're going to talk about Asian war elephants, which I think we haven't talked about. I think most of the war elephants we've encountered, I guess, Naraswan in Thailand.
Naraswan of Thailand, yeah. But yeah, there are elephants in many places on the globe, and yeah, I think it's time to talk about Vietnamese war elephants.
Let's do it. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, if the idea of, if you're not bored with the idea on this show of people firing arrows and using giant spears on the back of war elephants, if that doesn't sound exciting to you, then I really don't know how I can help.
Whoa, why are you even here? Yeah.
Yes, we're going to talk Vietnamese warriors, Vietnamese women shooting fire arrows off the backs of stampeding war elephants, and it's going to be badass, so stick with us.
It's totally badass.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about that. Okay, welcome back. We are talking about the history of Vietnam in the 1st century AD.
Yeah, so we're talking contemporaneous with so Caligula, the Roman emperor, played by John Hurt, in I, Claudius, the BBC production, and St. Paul.
Yeah. So yeah,
if you're into like Christian Bible, New Testament things.
Yes.
So that's what's going on that part of the continent, the Eurasia landmass, and all the way on the other end.
Right. We have. So it's always interesting. I did an episode recently with Daniele on the Taiping Rebellion, which is this big civil war in China that leaves millions and millions of people dead. But that was in like the 1860s. And so it's, what we're talking about here is we're back in the 1st century AD. So we have Roman Empire, height of the Roman Empire, Caligula's in Rome, but in Vietnam, it's a Chinese province at this time, part of the Han Dynasty. It's a region known as Gyaochi, which is, there is an indigenous population in Vietnam who feel that perhaps they are being, they have been conquered by the Han Dynasty and have been for some time. The Han have been in this area for about 100 years, but the Viet people are are starting to struggle with the domination of the Han Dynasty, because the Han Dynasty at this time is being very a little bit more aggressive in their control of the region than they have been in the past.
Yeah, they're quashing certain traditions that the Vietnamese people were used to.
Yes.
And, yeah.
And so we have the story here is about two Vietnamese sisters, so Trưng Chak and Trưng Nhi, and I'm sure I'm not pronouncing those exactly right, but I'm gonna do my best as my closest approximation of what it's supposed to sound like. So these are two women who are they're living in northern Vietnam in 40 AD. They are well educated. They're well trained. They are the daughters of a powerful local nobleman, and they're known for kind of being political leaders among their own people. The eldest, Trưng Chak, she is more politically ambitious. And she's married to a powerful aristocrat in the area, a guy named T. Sak, who is kind of these two are very politically active. They are wanting to have a little bit more autonomy for the Viet people than they currently have. So
they sound like a power couple.
They're definitely a power couple.
Oh yeah, power couple. Okay, so I am here for a power couple story.
Yes. Well.
Oh yeah.
Stand by.
Okay.
This is going to start off as a power couple story, but it's going to transition to a different power couple, I think. So, the Han Dynasty moved into northern Vietnam in 111 BC. So that's like 150 years before this story starts.
Yeah, several generations.
Right. And so, in the past, however, the Han Dynasty moved in, they take over, but the Viet people are allowed to kind of have a little bit of their own autonomy. And Pat, that has kind of, by the time this story begins, that story has changed because the Han Dynasty had a little bit of a shakeup.
So the autonomy of the Vietnamese people is like, okay.
Yes. So there had been, in the year 9, there was a civil war that broke out among the Han.
Yeah. And this is a guy called Wang Mang who declares himself emperor, like you do.
Yep.
And the empire splits into East and West. And surprise, surprise, you've got a war going on. And the war rages on for like 2 decades.
Right. So, in 111 BCE, Vietnam is overtaken by the Han. They're more or less allowed to kind of do their own thing. But then in the year 9, there's the Civil War. The Civil War breaks the Han Dynasty into East and West. Big war, think like Three Kingdoms kind of stuff. The Wang Mang is defeated and his provinces are reincorporated into the Han Dynasty. But the Han Dynasty is now worried about this sort of thing, so they're starting to clamp down. And by the year 40 AD or 40 CE, they send in a guy to a new governor for the Vietnam province. It's a guy named Su Ding. And Su Ding is not like, he is there to reassert Han dominance in this region, which is a region that has not traditionally had a lot of Han dominance. And he comes in with some rules. And he is exceedingly harsh. He knows that there is some discontent. He knows that if the Han Dynasty is perceived as weak, this region might consider breaking away into independence. And he's planning on preventing that with extreme violence and brutality.
Okay. So this is like kind of maybe textbook tyrant, or maybe even like, I don't know, comic book tyrant?
Yeah, basically. He's the bad guy in this movie, right? Su Ding comes in. He is, he's, the imperial agent in the region. He's,
Bom, bom, bom,
yes.
bom, 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 bom.
Exactly. And so Trưng Chak and her husband, T. Sak, they are trying to kind of secretly, and maybe even not so secretly, they are discontent with the Han government at this point. And so Su Ding decides, I need to make an example
Oh
somebody.
no!
And yeah, the power couple is gonna go away and act one of this story. Su Ding has Chung Chak's husband captured and publicly beheaded as a traitor. Yes, as a discontent noble. Su Ding believes that this will pacify the Viet people, and
how exactly?
by making them so angry that they suddenly start listening to all of his dumb rules.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yes, I'm going to try this tactic with my ninth graders.
Yeah, you just need to execute a couple.
Yes, I might need to. Okay, we might need to sign some waivers.
So, moving on, Chung Chak, she gets together with her sister, Chung Ni, and
sisters. Shout out to sisters. Woo.
So the power couple, we're having a Frozen moment here. The power couple is the sisters here. And, so they get together. They raise all of the nobles who had been kind of quietly discontent. And they're like, look at what they did to my husband. We need to rise up and we need to crush the Han and overthrow them. They've put all these extra taxes on us to pay back, pay out back this war. They are trying to clamp down on our customs and our traditions. They're trying to make us more Han. We don't like it. Let's all get together and have a war. And they're very charismatic.
Get your war on.
Yes, they get their war on, and they're very charismatic. And it's not hard for them to find warriors to fight against the Han.
Yeah, because everyone's like, help, we're being oppressed.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, okay. So they get organized and
They get organized, and it's interesting, Pat, because they get organized with a female command structure from political down to military.
So, in certain parts of the world in 40 AD, 40 CE, it might seem maybe a little odd or counterculture or whatever to have a female command structure. But in Vietnam, this was a thing. So before the Han, the Chinese Han fully enforced their patriarchal system and imposed that, local Vietnamese society had powerful, long-standing customs where female figures held positions of economic and political power. And women often served as local leaders, tribal chiefs, spiritual figures. Chung Chak herself was an aristocrat from one of these powerful families. So, she knew what she was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and also the people around her knew what she was doing. So when the Trưng Sisters raised their banner and they were like, hey, we need to get organized, they didn't just recruit generals. They also had, honestly, a structure with a lot of women in them. And they had, dozens of women serving as field commanders. And this was, okay, on the one hand, it was like, okay, yeah, just NBD, we're going to recruit good people. Some of them happen to be women. But also, it was, in a way, it was a deliberate FU to the Han Dynasty. They were saying, we're not just fighting for independence. We're fighting for the preservation of local Vietnamese culture.
Right, because the Vietnamese at this time, they had a matriarchal society. Like a lot of the lineage was traced that way, and it wasn't strange for them to have that. And the Han do not have this system, right? And so for the Han, it's very like men do this stuff and women don't do that stuff. And so that was kind of, they were trying to impose a lot of that on Vietnam at the time. And so this is a direct reaction to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Vietnamese were like, no. So from the point of view of Han Chinese generals, if you show up for a battle and the opposing army has two women on war elephants, okay, never mind the fact they're on elephants, but you know, the sight of two women leading an army is like, what the?
I mean, it would have been shocking to most cultures in the world at this time, right? But it wasn't that weird. It just kind of felt like this is how things are supposed to be if you were in Vietnam.
The Vietnamese are like, this is what we do.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So, right. And so, that makes it pretty clear that like this isn't a standard rebellion. They are promoting, so they're picking the best people for the job, regardless of their gender. And they are also incorporating a lot of women into their staff as a way of kind of throwing off the Han and rallying their own
giving
pockets.
the middle finger to the Han Dynasty. It's like
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it works out pretty well. And they have some pretty famous women commanders that fight for them as well.
Yeah. So one example is the General Feng Tiching. And okay, so this is legend, and I'm totally going to tell it. Legend says that Feng Tiching fought on the front lines. She literally had a baby strapped on her back. And this is a baby that she had, given birth to recently.
Yeah, this is like Conan. I think there's some stories where she like has the baby on the battlefield and then keeps fighting or something. It's very Rani of Jhansi. We've seen that with the Rani of Jhansi, Rani Lakshmibai. Like we talked about her.
Yes,
she went into war with like her 6-year-old strapped to her back or something.
Yeah, or maybe like I'm thinking of that statue of Anita Garibaldi on the Jerusalem Hill in Rome. Yeah. Okay. So just let's just picture her with like maybe she has her baby with her and she's like leading a charge, but also from the point of view of the Han soldiers facing this army, led by a woman with a sword in one hand and a newborn baby in the other. I mean, I don't know. Childcare is expensive, yeah. Yeah.
So that is something that was it. So they had women, and Feng Tiching is a prominent commander in their army. And they have infantry. They're fighting this guerrilla war in the jungle on their home turf against the Han, who are not really. They're there to kind of enforce their strength. They're not there. It's not a military occupation. They've had this region for a long time. So they're fighting on their own turf. They outnumber the Han, and they have war elephants, which the Han do not have.
Elephants. Anything involving elephants.
I know.
I
know. Yeah. And so the Trưng Sisters, they sit on elephants and they lead people into battle. They sit out there, and I'm picturing like binoculars or spyglasses or something to survey the battlefield kind of thing, rallying their troops, get flags, get fire arrows, all this cool stuff. There are not elephants in China, but there are elephants in Southeast Asia, and they are utilized for shock and awe.
Yes,
Elephant cavalry is not an easy thing to stand against when you are standing on foot, wearing leather armor, carrying a spear. You do not want to be facing
to be honest, if I were in battle and I were facing an army that had elephants, I would just stand there and be like, whoa.
Right.
Elephant.
I mean, some of these people fighting these war elephants have probably never seen an elephant before in their lives, right?
Yeah,
and
like they might have heard about them. And the way elephants get talked about in the world, if you have seen an elephant in person, you can describe an elephant. And then it's kind of like a game of telephone, mm-hmm. So we know this through illustrations, and the way elephants get drawn in manuscripts across the continent, across the Eurasian continent, it is kind of like a game of like visual telephone.
I always love that stuff when they go and there's somebody comes back from like you look at the Vasco da Gama stuff, they come back from the first, circumnavigation of Africa, and they try to describe like a rhino to somebody, and then that person tries to draw it, and it's just, you're like, what is this? I think that's like where a lot of D&D monsters come from, just being like, I don't know. I don't know what this is supposed to be.
I think you have a point there.
These medieval bestiaries are so fun.
Yeah. Like you're going on a verbal description, and Okay. So they're going up against these creatures who are formidable.
Yes. And it's shock and awe. It is, there is a garrison force of Han Chinese here. There is a massive uprising that kind of catches fire from city to city to city in Vietnam. And the Viet people, they rise up and they attack. They attack forts, they attack bases. Sometimes they're on foot. Sometimes it's guerrilla war where they have guys already inside the walls before they're opening the walls from the inside. So the Trưng Sisters and their army attack and they overwhelm the Han in the region. It just takes a couple of months, but they liberate 65 citadels.
Wait, 65?
Right, 65 like forts, watchtowers, little guard towers, bases, cities.
So, like, imagine a dozen eggs. Like, okay, just imagine you go to the store, you buy a dozen eggs. Okay. And each egg represents a city. And you've got 5 of those and, like, a few extra.
Mm-hmm.
That's how many cities we're talking about.
Right. 65 cities. Yeah. I mean, it's no small number of citadels, right?
No.
So they take over, they take the capital. Governor Su Ding, the guy who started the whole thing, he is so scared that he flees back to China. Like he doesn't try to fight nothing, because he's not a warrior either. He's just like a governor. He was there to like enforce his will.
Yeah,
but
he's a paper pusher.
Yeah, as soon as like as soon as the locals got mad and started coming after him with torches and pitchforks, he's out of there, right? He's gone. And he brings the rest of the Han with him. And within the span of a few short months, the Trưng Sisters are able to liberate the province from Han rule, and it's the first time that they've been free for 150 years. Now, There is this other component where being a great military leader is not the same thing as being a great political leader. And so what we're going to see here is that they have defeated the Han and they're in charge. And now it's time
What happens after the war?
Right, exactly. And, some people are good administrators, and there's sometimes, there's not a guaranteed crossover in skill between being a warrior and being an administrator. And when we come back, we're going to see what the Trưng Sisters are able to do as queens of Vietnam. So we'll be right back.
Plural.
Yes. All right, welcome back. It is now the year 40 AD, and the Trưng Sisters have liberated Vietnam. Governor Su Ding was there representing Han Dynasty China. He was abusive. He was trying to, was taking advantage too much of his power. He was trying to impose too much of his will upon the people that lived there. They rose up when he executed T Sak. Then the Trưng Sisters started a rebellion. They commanded it. They ran him out of town and they defeated the Han. Then Chung Chak, the eldest sister, she is officially proclaimed queen of Vietnam. And her sister, Chung Nhi, she becomes co-regent and the commander of the military. This is the first independent Vietnamese kingdom in 150 years, and it's ruled by elephant-riding women generals, which is pretty awesome.
Linger on that for a moment.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got these 2 sisters who are generals and also kind of queens, or also actually queens, on elephants.
It's not bad.
I mean, can you beat that? Can you beat that? Okay, yeah.
And then they rule for 3 years as queens.
Yeah.
And Pat, they enact some pretty good, we had said maybe being a great warrior doesn't make you a great administrator, but they actually do a good job of this.
Yeah, so what do they actually do? So the Chinese had imposed some taxes, and the Trưng Sisters, as queens/regents, are able to abolish those taxes. And they just get rid of those Han taxes. And
there was a lot of stuff that they'd imposed of like, hey, if we think you're if we think you're not loyal to the Han Dynasty, you have to pay all these extra taxes. And,
wait, so they're like anti-loyalty, loyalty
basically,
taxes?
Yeah, they're just trying to crush, they're trying to remove the money from powerful people who don't like them. So, we're gonna restock our piles because we've been having this 20-year civil war. We need to refund our treasury, and we're gonna do it by anybody who has the idea of an independent Vietnam. We're just gonna tax you into oblivion so that you can't finance a revolution.
So basically, if you look at us funny, you owe us money.
Exactly. Yeah. If you say any bad things about us, and they'll come up with stuff, right? Yeah, you're not the right religion. You're not the right. You didn't. They come up with stuff.
You're not wearing the right color shirt.
Exactly.
Or you're your hair is cut the wrong way.
Yeah, that's 20 gold, right?
And so the Trưng Sisters get rid of Chinese customs that are antithetical to Vietnamese customs. So they help to restore traditional Vietnamese customs. So they restore old local laws, they restore old customs, and they ditch the Chinese bureaucracy that had stripped local nobles of their power and independence. And some of this is, restoring the idea that women can have power too,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was a big component of it. And so this is a moment of freedom and self-rule. They defeated a global superpower. The Han Dynasty might be the most, Rome is kind of at its height right now, but the Han Dynasty can probably field more soldiers, right?
There.
Yeah, the Han Dynasty is very wealthy, very powerful. They've been defeated, but you don't really steal 65 citadels from the Han Dynasty and expect them to send you a congratulatory greeting card.
Wait, what? You don't? What? What? Okay. I mean, I feel like there's some board game where that actually is a thing.
That's not what happens here. So the emperor of the Han Dynasty is Emperor Guangwu. And when Su Ding returns to Beijing with news that he's lost 65 citadels and Vietnam is independent now, Guangwu decides he needs to deal with this.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So he brings in his toughest guy. So he's not going to play around with this. He's not going to send another little expedition. He's definitely not going to send Su Ding back. He's bringing in a guy called Ma Yuan.
Okay, because Su Ding has not experienced successfulness.
He could not get it done. Yeah, he's not even a warrior either. So he brings in the warrior. He brings in a guy named Ma Yuan, who is already at this point a legendary commander. He is known as the wave suppressing general because anytime a wave of rebellion appears, he suppresses it.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Okay. So we're at oceanic levels of praise or whatever. Okay.
He destroyed rebellions against the Han Dynasty in the south. He fought bandits in the north. He drove off invading horse warriors, basically proto-Mongolians. He didn't defeat Wang Mang, he wasn't part of that war, but in the chaos that followed that war, he's responsible for personally basically bringing in Gansu and Shaanxi provinces from the rebels in the aftermath of the war.
Okay, so he gets stuff done.
He has been on many, many, many campaigns, and all of them have been successful. He's also, his sister's married to the emperor's brother, so he's
details.
Right, yeah, so he goes to whatever family events with the emperor.
Okay, so he's got an in, but also he actually has actual accomplishments.
Right, this guy's for real. So Ma Yuan's he's a serious general, and he's going to show up in 42 AD with an army that numbers somewhere between 10,000 and 20,000 soldiers. He's got heavy cavalry. He's got siege equipment. He's got heavy cavalry. He's got supply chains. He is.
Oh wow. Okay, so this guy. Okay, so he is. Okay, we need to take this guy seriously.
Ma Yuan is a serious guy, yeah. And when he shows up, his army is disciplined and professional. They are not.
Oh, okay. Can we just pause for a moment? Okay, disciplined and professional.
Yes.
That's badass.
That's badass. Yeah, Ma Yuan is actually badass. I like this guy, but he's the enemy in this story.
Okay, yeah, in this story, yeah. Because we're telling this from the point of view of the Trưng Sisters.
Yeah. So when this guy rolls up, he is not going to make the mistakes that Su Ding made. And the Trưng Sisters know this, right? They're not, when this guy shows up, they're not going to fight him on the battlefield. Even with war elephants and stuff, they're not going to try to march against this massive army that is well-trained, armored, well-equipped. So what can they do? Well, this is Vietnam.
What can they do? Yeah.
It is the jungle. It is tricky terrain. It's not terrain that is common in most parts of China. And they're going to do the thing that they do, which is fight a guerrilla war in the jungle, hit and run, attack supply trains, use the terrain, attack them in bottlenecks where you can outnumber them.
they still, like the Trưng Sisters still ride their war elephants. These are symbols of Vietnamese defiance against the rule. They ride them directly into battle but they make sure that they pick their battles wisely. They're not going to meet them on an open field. They try to hit them in small groups, right? This is guerrilla war. This is setting a precedent that Vietnam and the Vietnamese people will use to great success throughout their history. So
you got a jungle, you're going to use the jungle.
Yeah, you're going to hit them from the jungle when they're not expecting it, and then disappear by the time when they send a reprisal force. And that's what they do.
So how does this work?
So they're able to fight a prolonged, bloody campaign that lasts over a year. They're able to hold out against Ma Yuan for over a year. He is... he's doing everything he can. He has the numerical advantage. He has a navy, and the Vietnamese don't have a navy, so he's able to kind of attack down he's able to hit coastal areas all up and down the coast, so that gives him a huge advantage. He is trying to isolate anywhere he can find them. He attacks them and tries to isolate them. And he kind of slowly grinds through and is able to... it takes him a year, which is a long time for this guy in this kind of campaign.
It is a long time, yeah.
But he does defeat the Trưng Sisters, and they eventually find themselves cornered.
Oh.
And so
okay. Yeah.
It's kind of the net is closing in on them. They fight heroically.
Yes.
But in 43 AD, the end is near.
Yeah. This is an event that took place in 43. And there are different versions of the story. So which version do we use?
I mean, we got to use the most badass one, right?
Okay.
We should probably tell them all, though.
Yeah. Okay. So there's one version. There's one story that's told where they're captured by the Chinese and they're beheaded. And then there's another version where they say, no, we are not going to submit. We are not going to give in.
And this is the version that is kind of canon among the Vietnamese historians and Vietnamese people, is that they refused to give in to the Han Dynasty, and they weren't going to let them take him alive.
Yes.
The most common version, they are, they're surrounded, they're being attacked. They opt to drown themselves in the Hat Song River, which is they'd rather die than be subjugated.
Yeah, which, I mean, I respect that.
Yeah. Right. There's another version where they fight, they have a last stand and they fight to the last man and are eventually killed in battle. This is the fate of Fu Ti-ching because she was the one who had been fighting with her.
She's the one who had the baby.
Yeah.
The newborn, strapped on.
Right. So she apparently dies in battle fighting the Han as well. No indication of what happens to the child, but
yes.
But the heroes of the Vietnamese rebellion, they die in battle or meet their end in various ways, heroically trying to defend their people against the onslaught. But they're kind of crushed
with integrity. They're not giving in. They're not giving in. They're not compromising. Yeah.
And then that's it. So, the rebellion is crushed and Vietnam is reabsorbed into the Han Dynasty.
Yeah. And here's the thing. So in the one sense, they've lost the battle. But on the other hand, the impact of their 3-year reign of the Trưng Sisters, it's lasting. What have the Trưng Sisters done? They've established themselves not just as successful military leaders, but more importantly, the Trưng Sisters are the founders of Vietnamese independence. And this is a legacy that's going to endure for 2 millennia.
Right. So, they've kind of, when they are originally overtaken, when this region is originally overtaken by the Han in 111 BCE, it's not a unified idea of Vietnamese nationalism or independence. In 40, there's kind of growing we are from here and we are being ruled by somebody from a different place, and they are able to kind of set up this kingdom And for 3 years, the Trưng Sisters rule it as queens, and they established this setup of like, we are Vietnamese, we are Vietnam. And yes, they lose the war, and yes, the Han reinstates its thing, but they don't forget. The people who live here don't forget that we had this, and we are different, right? We are our own people, and we should rule ourselves. Now, there's something I'd like to add here to kind of tie off this story.
Okay.
And it relates to Su Ding, the governor who started this whole thing by executing Cheng Chak's husband.
Oh, that guy, the Han Dynasty guy.
So Su Ding returns to Beijing, or perhaps Shanghai. I can't remember where the capital of the Han Dynasty is at this point.
He returns to the
capital, and he meets with Emperor Guangwu, who decides that Su Ding's failure to contain a local uprising was he's like, I sent you there to kind of administer and make sure that they like fell in line. And instead, this was a political and military disaster, right? You failed to establish order. You provoked a major rebellion that required the deployment of my top general and my best soldiers to quell it, right?
They were insufficiently subordinate.
Right, which cost us it was a big expense in time, resources, prestige. Like we lost a lot of guys fighting down there. We lost a lot of time.
Okay, I was going to say, this is a womp womp moment.
Yeah. This is a bad. So Su Ding is recalled. While his specific fate is not detailed, he, being recalled in disgrace usually means demotion, loss of titles, loss of wealth, perhaps exile perhaps exile to a lower post. This is not good, and
it's not good.
This is not good for his career. Yeah, this is a career-ending move for him. He disappears from history into middle management bureaucracy on the fringes of the empire, perhaps.
Okay.
But let's talk about Ma Yuan, the wave-suppressing general. So
which is actually his title.
That is what he is known as. But he is, so he comes in and he conquers. But he's actually, I told you I like this guy. So he's known for his personal modesty. So he's famous for he's a great warrior, but he's a military guy, right? So he wears normal clothes, simple clothes. And one thing that he's really
civilian, not military, but just
civilian, military clothes, but he doesn't wear these big fancy, the big fancy stuff, all the medals and all that stuff, right? He's not
okay, but rank and file, just ordinary GI kind of
exactly. He's just kind of comes. He doesn't like to be fancy. He doesn't want to have gold-plated armor or any of that kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And the other thing that he really is into is overseeing agriculture and irrigation. He's interested in this.
Wait. Agriculture and irrigation. This sounds like nerd stuff.
Yeah, he's really into it. So whenever he conquers a region, one of the first things he wants to do is irrigate the land. He has his engineers irrigate the land to foster agriculture, which he found was a way to earn the respect of the common people and to kind of, whereas Su Ding was I think I can win these people over by chopping their heads off. Ma Yuan's I think I can win these people over by giving them clean drinking water or irrigation for their crops.
Okay, so chopping heads off, giving clean drinking water. Chopping heads off, giving clean drinking
Maybe
water.
You should irrigate your classroom.
Maybe
that's the way to go.
It's a tough choice. Oh my goodness. Oh my god. Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't have listened to me.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to go advocate clean drinking water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You should. Okay. You should irrigate your classroom. I like that. So, all right. Yeah. So he is. His reputation is not just in conquering territory, but also making it better, making it prosperous after he does.
Providing clean drinking water. Stay hydrated, badasses.
Right. He doesn't just conquer or retake Vietnam for the Han Dynasty. He builds roads. He builds schools. He builds irrigation. He stays there for years.
This is infrastructure.
Right. He does. So he stays there and brings advanced agricultural techniques and infrastructure to the region.
So he actually thinks what is actually beneficial to the people who actually live here?
Yes, exactly. This has two effects. Okay. One of them is to solidify Chinese rule in the region because now they're not oppressors, they're helpers, right?
And also make things better for the people who live there?
Right, exactly. And so that's the thing, right? That is the interesting thing with the Trưng Sisters, right? They establish a national identity. They rule for 3 years. Things are good. And then even in their defeat, the country changes for the better. They get Su Ding out and they replace him with Ma Yuan, who is much better.
Demonstrably, objectively better.
Right.
I mean, okay, like anyone who improves the quality of drinking water is better.
Right. And so,
yeah.
Okay, so now you have this interesting setup where they do actually improve the state of their people, even in defeat. And at the same time, they become a rallying cry for the next 2,000 years of Vietnamese resistance against conquerors. So whether it's the Chinese, the French, even the Americans, this story, every time Vietnamese, national identity is threatened, they bring out the story of these women that rode elephants and overthrew invaders. It's a kind of a legendary story, even though they're historical figures. And in fact, like they've kind of transcended that even, and in some parts of Vietnam, they're actually worshipped as goddesses, or they're considered goddesses.
Yes, yeah. They've become venerated as spirits, goddesses, divinities. They have lots of temples built to them. They became Vietnamese national heroes. Surprise, surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And on the 6th day of the second lunar month, which, moves around from year to year in the calendar that I use, there's the Hai Ba Chung Temple Festival, which is in honor of them.
Yes, it's the Hai Ba Chung Temple is in Hanoi, which is the capital, and it's it's one of the most important historical sites in the country, and it's dedicated to worship of the Trưng Sisters.
So they did roughly 2 millennia ago.
Mm-hmm. 40 AD, more than 2 millennia ago.
Yeah.
Oh no, not quite.
Yeah. Roughly. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go there. People offer incense. They pray for peace, prosperity, national strength. They pay their respects. And the anniversary, like you said, is the 6th day of the second lunar month, which sounds like a prophecy. But
yes.
There's a lot of schools, streets, districts are named in their honor. And, it's one of these interesting things about the Trưng Sisters and the rebellion is that while the history books might say they rebelled against the Han, they overthrew them, they ruled for 2 years, and then their rebellion was destroyed.
So technically, but...
Right, but what they did in the short term and in the long term changed their country forever. They showed that Vietnamese freedom is possible.
Yes.
Maybe you have to ride a war elephant into battle to get it, but you can do it. And they kind of created this national identity for their people. And they rode war elephants and they captured 65 citadels from the Han. So that's kind of badass as far as I'm concerned. And
that is non-trivial.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's the Trưng Sisters, and that's our story.
So they recaptured 65 citadels, they rode war elephants, and they just represented the spirit of independence for Vietnamese people.
And that's it. And that's badass, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally badass. Yeah.
So, that's our story for the week. Pat, thank you for helping me tell it. It was,
Ben, thank you for having me on.
Yeah. Of course. Thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you liked this episode. If you do, please like and subscribe and comment and leave us a review or whatever. And feel free to contact us if you have ideas for people you think we should talk about in the future. Thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next episode. Badass of the Week is produced by High Five Content and $7 Productions. Executive producers are Dwayne Johnson, Danny Garcia, Andrew Jacobs, Hiram Garcia, Brian Gewirtz, Frankie Chaparino, and of course, me, Ben Thompson. Writing is by me and my semi-regular but always awesome co-host, Dr. Patricia Larish. Story editing by Ian Jacobs. Our mixing, music, and sound design is done by the incomparable Jude Brewer. Production support by Jean McGale-Waite. Badass of the Week is based on my website, badassoftheweek.com, where you can read all sorts of stories about other badasses. If you want to reach out with questions or ideas, you can email us at badasspodcast@badassoftheweek.com. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, follow, listen, tell your friends, and tell your enemies. And please leave us a review. If you want to support Badass of the Week, please check out our Patreon page. We'll be back next week with another one.